I'm Kathleen Henderson from Roots and Boots, and today I'm going to share with you my family's favorite Thanksgiving picture books. If you're watching this video the first year that I shared it, I know I'm running a little bit late with these Thanksgiving books. Obviously not much time to enjoy them still for this Thanksgiving, but if you're like me, this year always feels like the best time to make plans for next year when I have great ideas for celebrating the season that we're currently in. I always tell myself, okay, I can't pull that off for this year, but that is a great idea for adding for next year. And when we're in a current holiday time or a season of the year, that's when I like to be on the lookout for other great books on those topics, on those seasons or holidays to add to our collection while it's fresh on my brain and while I'm looking at our existing collection for that season. And that's when I like to add new titles to our collection, but not tell my kids about them, save them to get out next year. And it's always fun, even though we have beloved books that are a tradition for us to read every year, it's always fun to add a new book to that lineup. And so that is how it works for me, and I'm assuming that it works like that for you too. So it's in that spirit that I share with you now my family's favorite Thanksgiving books, our collection of Thanksgiving and November picture books. The first book is good for very young listeners. This is My First Thanksgiving by Tommy J. Paola. I'm never sure if I'm saying his last name correctly, but I'm sure you're familiar with him. He's a very well-known children's author. This has really simple text. My boys have all outgrown it, but it feels nostalgic for me, so we still keep it with our Thanksgiving book collection. This next one is also for young listeners. It's The Pilgrim's First Thanksgiving by Anne McGovern. And it's just a simple telling of the first Thanksgiving story with the Pilgrims and the Indians. This is a family favorite. I don't know if you're familiar with the poet Jack Prelutsky. We love him and esteem him at our house. He is not the sort of poet that writes like classic, beautiful poetry. We definitely emphasize that also at our house. But this is just fun-loving poetry. He has many books of poetry, and this one is a short book of poetry specifically about Thanksgiving. One of my children, if you know my children personally, you can probably guess which one it is, has a favorite poem in this book, and if you read the book you can probably guess which poem it is, and he at one point had it memorized, and he still likes to remind us about it every year at Thanksgiving. So fun reading for the whole family. This book is Squanto. It's by Eric, another author whose last name I don't know how to pronounce, Metaxas. This is a fantastic faith-based account of the real story of Squanto, and you may not know the whole backstory about Squanto's life and experience growing up as an Indian and then actually being captured and taken to Europe as a slave, and then how he got back to North America and then what happened after that. So this is a great book, great pictures. My youngest, who is 8, really likes this book a lot. This is another book about Squanto and the Pilgrims. Squanto, Friend of the Pilgrims. It's by well-known children's author Clyde Robert Bulla. This is a very old vintage copy, and it's a little bit more like a chapter book. It has several chapters. They're very short. This is the author of Daniel's Duck, and I think Andy and the Lion. He has a bunch of classic children's books and very well written, also recommended. This is a newer favorite of ours. It's a newer book on the Thanksgiving scene. It's called Thanksgiving in the Woods by Phyllis Alsdorf. Has beautiful pictures, and it's just a really special story about a special Thanksgiving celebration. I don't want to spoil it for you, but I highly recommend this one. This is a long-standing family favorite. Hopefully you're already familiar with the Cranberryport books by the Devlins, Wendy and Harry Devlin. This is Cranberry Thanksgiving. There's also Cranberry Christmas. There's a Cranberry Halloween, even though Halloween is not my favorite holiday. We love the cranberry books, and so we also own that one in our collection. But this is a wonderful Thanksgiving book. We read it every year, and your family will love it too, I promise. This is another newer title for us. It was published in 2015, so some of my children were already starting to outgrow this by then, but I couldn't resist adding it to our collection. It has wonderful illustrations, and I really love it. It's called Sharing the Bread, an old-fashioned Thanksgiving story. And can't you just tell from the pictures that it's just a special kind of book? Highly recommend. This is a great one, and there is an accompanying book that I thought we owned, but I can't find it right now. It's called Samuel Eaton's Day, A Day in the Life of a Pilgrim Boy. It's basically like a reenactment in book form of a day in the life of a pilgrim boy, and it has photos. And there is at least one other book. There might even be more than one other book that goes with this. There's one about a day in the life of a pilgrim girl. This book was photographed at Plymouth Plantation, and it has photos in it of pilgrim families, this little pilgrim boy and his family and the community. There are of course actors, reenactors, but it's a really great addition to a Thanksgiving collection of books because it looks at the Plymouth Plantation and it gives you just a different perspective on the life of the pilgrims who were of course involved in that first Thanksgiving. So we like to keep this book with our Thanksgiving book collection. Love this book too. I have so many favorites in this Thanksgiving roundup. Over the River and Through the Woods, a Thanksgiving poem by Lydia Maria Child. Did you know that Over the River and Through the Woods was originally written as a poem, and it was for Thanksgiving? This is a Thanksgiving song, and it's fun that the song is included in the back of the book, and the pictures are wonderful. They are woodcut style, if you are familiar with that. Woodcuts by Christopher Manson. Just really fun, nostalgic, old-fashioned illustrations, and it goes through the song, the poem, which again was originally intended for Thanksgiving celebrations. And then finally in our Thanksgiving collection, this book by Cynthia Rylant, one of our very favorite children's authors, so prolific. She has many, many books. I'm sure you're familiar with many of her books. It's not a specifically Thanksgiving book, but it's in November, and it does include reference to the Thanksgiving celebrations at the end of the book, and beautiful illustrations by Jill Kastner, and of course, again, Cynthia Rylant. We love this book, and I keep it with our Thanksgiving books for the month of November. I would love to hear if you have a favorite Thanksgiving book that didn't make my list. Please share it in a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions. Happy Thanksgiving and happy reading.